And then 13, 14, and 15. Now they make them even more complicated. We want to solve this, but they don't have it equal to 0. So what you want to do is you want to look. Whenever you have a squared term, your first step is you want to get it set equal to 0. If I'm going to set it equal to 0, I always want to leave my squared term so that it's a positive number. We have not factored a single thing that had a negative x squared term. So we need this to be positive, which means I'm going to move both of these to the other side. So I'm going to have 5u squared. Since this is a positive 9u, I'm going to make it a negative 9u. And since that's a positive 2, I'm going to make it a negative 2. And I'm going to set it equal to 0. Make sure you have it in descending order, your u squared, your u term, and then your number, your constant term on the end. Now it's in the proper form that we can factor it. So we use our 2 sets of parentheses. Factors of 5u squared. Well, 1u times 5u. So u times 5u is 5u squared. My signs, since the end is negative, I have to have one of each sign, a plus and a minus. I may have to switch them, but I'm going to start that way. Factors of 2. Only way to get 2 is 2 times 1, but of course the order would be important. If I put my 2 and my 1 in here and I check it, I'm going to have here negative 1u. Inside, I'm going to get a positive 10u. 10 minus 1 is 9. I want to get negative 9, which tells me my signs are backwards. So I'm going to make this the negative and this the positive so that I get a positive 1 and a minus 10. And 1 minus 10 is negative 9. That's equal to 0, so now I'm going to break it down into the 2 problems. U minus 2 equals 0, and 5u plus 1 equals 0. Well, that first one's pretty easy to solve. All we have to do is move our 2. So we're going to add our 2, so u equals 2. Second one, we've got the 2 steps to solve. We got to move our 1 first, so minus our 1, 5u equals negative 1, and then we still have to divide by our 5. So u is going to equal negative 1/5. So again, we get 2 solutions, 2 and negative 1/5. Number 14. Again, I look at that, it tells me to solve it for w. I see that there's a squared term, and if that squared term's in there, normally I'm going to solve it by factoring, which means I have to have it set equal to 0. I want my squared term to stay positive, so I'm going to move these 2 things to the other side. So 9w squared, this is a positive 30w, so I'm going to make it a minus 30w. This is a minus 25, so I'm going to make it a positive 25. Now I have it set equal to 0. I can solve by factoring. So here, I've got 9w squared. It might be w and 9w, or it might be 3w and 3w. Until you have a whole lot of practice, you probably have no idea which pair it is, and you just have to start guessing. The end is positive. If the end is positive, both signs have to be the same as the middle, so we know we have a negative and a negative. Factors of 25. 1 and 25, but more likely it's the 5 and the 5. So I'm going to put the 5 and the 5 in, and I'm going to check it out. So here my outside is negative 5w, my inside is negative 45w. Nope, that's not going to add up to 30. I'm going to check the other one. My outside is negative 15w. My inside is negative 15w. So that's the one I want because negative 15 plus negative 15 adds up to the negative 30w in the middle. So, going to get rid of that one. It didn't work. This is the one I want, the 3w minus 5 times the 3w minus 5. Now notice these 2 things are exactly the same. Means it's going to give you the exact same answer. You don't have to put the same answer in twice. You only have to put it in there once. So I'm just going to solve 3w minus 5 equals 0. So adding my 5, 3w would equal 5, dividing by 3, so w is going to equal 5/3. That's known as a double root because you actually would end up getting it twice, but when you enter it in, you just put it in once. W is 5/3. All right. So number 15 says solve for v. If there is more than one solution, separate them with commas. If there's no solution, click on no solution. It's a quadratic expression. We need to set it equal to 0. So 3v squared. We've got to minus the 8v to move it over, and minus the 3, and it's going to equal 0. So I need to solve that by factoring. Factors of 3v squared, v times 3v. My signs, since the end is negative, I've got 1 plus and 1 minus, and the factors of 3. 1 times 3. So if I plug those in here and I put the 3 here and the 1 here, I'm going to get negative 1v plus 9v, which is a positive 8v, which tells me my signs are backwards. I'm going to make this one the negative then, and this one the positive. Checking that out, I'm going to get a positive 1v minus a 9v, and 1 minus 9 is negative 8v in the middle. So now I have it factored the right way. It is set equal to 0. I can set each of my factors equal to 0. So v minus 3 would equal 0, or 3v plus 1 would equal 0. Solving that first one, just need to move that 3 over. So we're going to add our 3, and v equals 3. This one we've got to do in 2 steps. We're going to move our 1 over first, which makes it negative 1. 3v equals negative 1. Divide by 3. And so v equals negative 1/3. So my 2 answers, v would equal 3 or negative 1/3. So solving my quadratic expressions, that means there's a squared term. We're going to set them equal to 0, factoring them out, and we should end up with 2 solutions, or maybe the same solution twice. And that should be the end of that chapter.